welcome back to Word Blindness Dyslexia Exposed. This is Juliet Hahn with my co-host Brent Sopel on a lovely Monday. How are you?
A lovely Monday.
I'm trying to be positive.
Okay. Yeah, it's Monday. Here we go again.
Here we go again, right? Another week. It's Dyslexic Awareness Month, which is absolutely crazy that it's October already. I feel like let's preference also. We did a lot of recordings. We took our break. We did hit our 100 episodes, and then we waited for season 4, and we did a lot of, because we're both going in so many different directions, we were able to take a little time and record, which was great. And then we both have had like a number of things again. And so we haven't recorded in a number of weeks. And now we're like, we have one still, in the hopper is what I call it. But we are like, okay, let's think of a couple different things that we want to talk about. And we're like, holy shit, it's October, Dyslexic Awareness Month.
And I guess that's where we're out to start. It's been like a year since I dyed my tips and, all those little things. And
isn't that crazy? It's crazy.
Another year of a golf event. A couple weeks, the next couple events. So it seems it was like it was yesterday, but also seems like it's been, 10 years.
10 years. It does. Right. No, it's so crazy how that works. But let's touch on because we recorded, let's touch a couple different things because we didn't go into detail about the golf event, like any of the details when we recorded. You guys did another incredible job. I loved that we had some different volunteers and then some same volunteers. We had some different sponsors and some same sponsors. And so it was just another great group of people that were like, I didn't know this about dyslexia. I didn't know this about dyslexia. You had a couple different kids speaking. It was really special again. I mean, it was magical energy. And that's what I said like a couple times. And when I said it, people were like, it actually is very magical.
Magical? I don't know if I...
Yeah, I liked magical.
I think it was group text. I think somebody came up with magical. And I'm like,
I think I said magical. And it was like, it really was though.
Yeah, it was, obviously the weather was perfect too. Mother Nature's been really good to us for that, we ended up on 110 golfers. So a few little less than last year. We pellet some extra people in at the end. Some new things, try and make it spicy and fun every time. And the car in the middle of the fairway was fun. People enjoyed the hecklers. People are saying that we should just sell seats, put grandstands behind the hecklers, and let people pay to come to the golf event and just listen to the hecklers all day long, because they're pretty funny.
They were funny. Wait, did you know that the one guy's name is Montgomery?
Yeah, he told me.
So it was so funny because he went up to Penelope and he's like, "Did you say your brother was named Montgomery?" And she's like, "I did." And he's like, "That's so cool." And we were like, "Oh." And then he goes, "My name's Montgomery." And we were like, "Oh." He goes, "But I'm called Mont because everyone in his family has 4-letter names. And he was the last one. And they named him Montgomery, but his nickname is Mont." So he goes, "I've been going by Mont." He goes, and then he literally goes, does he go up and introduce himself as like, "Hi, I'm Montgomery"? And we were like, "Yeah." And he goes, "That's so cool." And Penelope and I were done. Yeah, he was like, "I need to do that. That's like the coolest thing. That's so cool." And I was like, "What's his name?" Like how, and he's like, I said he does go by Monty sometimes, but he does introduce himself as Montgomery. And then, some teammates in college and all of that stuff will call him Monty.
You make up, that's self-proclaiming your own nickname.
Exactly.
That's not how it goes.
Yeah. But he was really funny because he's like, "God, I wish I didn't listen to my parents and do the 4-letter, but everyone was named 4 letters and then they had me."
Yeah. Then why would you go from 4 letters to that?
I know. I was like, that's like 10 letters. It's like not even like 5.
Right. Not rounding up a couple or no. Right.
Yeah. Big jump.
But he was great.
They were great.
They were both, pretty funny. We heard some of the jokes, but we're there. The one hole, just the one time with Progi Pizza. So it was.
Yeah, I didn't get to hear their jokes.
Oh, they're pretty funny.
Yeah.
So, guys had fun that, always hear events always different and unique to nobody else before. And next year will be no different already. Elizabeth came up with an idea at the end.
I love that.
With the car. So already initiated that conversation with the golf course. So next year we'll have a little more fun, break a few more things.
Oh, that's cool. I mean, the car was very cool. I mean, people were like, I wish I was sitting there because I was like, how many people, but no one smashed the windows. That's what I was like, are you hitting it harder? Like, are you angry on this hole? And everyone's like, why would we be
It was
angry?
harder. I hit it clean. A couple of people bounced it off, but probably 110 people missed it. So it wasn't, it was 200 yards out, so it wasn't as easy, as it looked.
Right.
There's a few that just kind of hipped it. I was the only one that hit the window.
I love that, but it didn't break though, huh?
No, I hit it hard too. Well, I thought there was going to be at least crack glass, but nope, couldn't do that. Next year.
It was made.
We'll finish it off.
Yeah, made well. Okay, so I love that. So again, you guys go to the website because there's always updates on stuff. There's always things that we're doing. Really, the website has, but social media, if you're not following the Sopel Foundation on Instagram, that's where a lot of, different things come up. So we're over 100 episodes in word blindness. We are in Dyslexia Awareness Month. And you're not going to be dying at your hair or doing any of that. Well, we got to think of something. Maybe you guys that are listening can give us some ideas of what he can do for the second half of the month. One of the things that I want everyone to really think about in Dyslexic Awareness Month is go out of your way to learn something or talk to someone that has dyslexia, but ask them questions about it. Like, I really want the listeners to go and ask a specific question to someone with dyslexia. Like, that's everyone's job in Dyslexic Awareness Month, and then talk about it.
Interesting. Of course, you're going to talk about asking questions.
Of course. I mean, because there's people out there that don't feel comfortable asking questions because they don't want to make the person feel bad, or they don't know if it's like if they don't want to feel dumb asking a question that they are like, oh, that's not dyslexia. And so I want people to kind of really challenge themselves.
Yeah, because obviously everybody just thinks it's your, obviously we talked about this a million times, flipping your B's and D's.
Yeah.
So, majority of them obviously lead with that. Use the question we always get led with. And it'd be interesting to see, how many people say yes, because that's not mine. I don't do that.
Right.
So there's one easy question.
Right. And I mean, that's the thing. It's not everyone does it, and everyone's dyslexia is very different. And also how you kind of, and I don't want to say mask it, but like how you got around things, everyone does something different, which is really cool. And having conversations with people, a lot of times it's the parent that's like, I don't think it's in our family, but then we start talking and they're like, oh shit, wait. I mean, that happens all the time. Or it's a grandparent asking for their, their child who it's their grandchild. And it is one of those things that there's so many things about dyslexia and the 5Ds, because I even, right, with dysgraphia and dyscalculia, like I thought there was some stuff with dysgraphia that was more of an ADHD thing. And just with getting everyone in my house diagnosed, I realized that that's not, it's more of a dysgraphia thing, where the ADHD I kind of always put as the umbrella because that was the first thing I was diagnosed with. So I was like, oh, that's my ADHD, and really not separating it. So that's what I want everyone to do.
There's a lot to it, It's just not ADHD in like 1 or 2 points. There's probably 52 different points underneath each umbrella. So I'm sure if you read all the way to the bottom, you always see somebody post something. I'll read all the way to the bottom. Well, because there's things on that bottom list that if you have any knowledge, you might have did what you did. There's a lot that goes to each one. The brain seems to be complicated, they say.
Mm-hmm. It's so complicated. I mean, really,
that leads right into point number 2. what was that? All the uproar of Tylenol and autism. Not here to pronounce either which way, but it got me thinking about how are we combined with autism as much as we are when our brains are wired differently. So it's very different what we're going through than what they're going through. No?
Yeah. So when you asked me this, I knew exactly what you were saying, because so, and again, we're not saying whether, because I'm going to preface this is the studies that have come out. There are studies that have been out since 2017, 2019 saying that this is one of the causes. We know that autism a number of years ago was 1 in 300.
Right.
It is now 1 in 1 in 12, and then 1 in 33 for girls and 1 in 12 for boys, or something really
I don't
low.
know. It's
Okay. So we know that there's environmental factors. There's something that's causing it. So like whether you believe it's the vaccines, whether you believe it's we're not here to debate
hereditary.
that. Exactly. It's not hereditary.
It's not a gene. It's not a gene mutation or whatever. That's the difference between what I'm saying is believe whatever you want, but it's not hereditary. It's not
hereditary. Right. And so this is where, when we talk about the 5Ds and neurodiversity, and you guys have heard us say this, and if you haven't, if you're new listening, we don't like the word neurodiversity for dyslexia. I'm not saying that I'm against people with neurodiversity. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying I don't like it for dyslexia. Right. And there's a number of reasons why we don't like it. And this is a huge example, is when you are autistic, there's something that has caused that. When you are dyslexic or ADHD or dysgraphic or dyscalculia or dyspraxia, you are born with it. It is inherited. Your wires are crossed, right? Your brain is different. It is developed different. It's not something environmentally that has caused you to have this. Where autism, there is something environment. There's an outside source that caused it. Whether you are predispositioned, I have my own theories. I think people, just like with autoimmunes and all of this, I think people have predispositions for it, and something can trigger it and set it off. With dyslexia, there's nothing triggering it. You're not like all of a sudden like, oh, I was dropped on my head, right? Like that.
That might have been the case too. But that's why I wanted to, I kind of, led into from what we're talking about. There's a lot of things under the umbrella of dyslexia and, all 5Ds. Well, now let's start digging under the umbrella of why we're combined.
Right. And again, someone could say, and I know, I kind of feel like, which I would love people to write in and tell us, like whether it's through the Sopel Foundation Instagram, whether it's through Brent.Sopel Instagram, whether it's mine, I am Juliet Hahn, or if you email, which is info@sopelfoundation.org. Any which way you can get us. And we're happy for all questions and answers. And then if you have one of our texts, you can also do it that way. One of the things that you really have to think about is there's so much, and the reason why we get so angry at like the diversity of it is because in school we always feel like, okay, there is, and just stay with me for a second because I know I'm like stuttering around this because I'm trying to develop it in my head how I exactly want to say it. Now I'm knocking my headphones out. When you're in school and there's labels, right? So it's like you have learning differences, or you have an LD. That's what they call it, an LD, a specified learning disability. For a teacher, that's really difficult to know what the child has. It's like a guessing game. It's like, okay. And there's so many different things that you can you can learn different. So the same with dyslexia, with the 5Ds, and then autism. Like, how can you say, and I think that schools are going to try to take this word. That's why I get really, and I don't know, but I feel like they're going to try to take this word and then label it even bigger. But like under neurodiversity, there's anxiety, there's all of these other disorders that are not learning styles. Yes, anxiety can play into learning where you're anxious and you're not taking a great test, but dyslexia is a specific way we learn. We learn different. We are wired different. And so it really can't be put in these same buckets. Now, I know what people are going to say, and this is what I started to say, is because we all we're not typical. So that's why neurodiversity, autism, they're different. Dyslexia, you're different. You're not a typical learner. You're not atypical. But really, is anyone, I mean, if we really think about it, is anyone normal? I mean, if you want to say
Well,
normal.
what is normal? And that always takes it down a different, rabbit hole. But our brains are wide, narrow, right? So narrow, what's our brain, right? We're talking about our brain, neurodivergent. I just saw that, when I heard it, Elizabeth was talking about it, I'm like, hey, that's brought me to thinking a little bit differently on this one.
I love that.
Like,
being curious.
Great that they deserve all the everything they get. It's like obviously there's a lot of understanding with it. Obviously there's schools way more than access than what dyslexics have, but we're different from them. So we are so buried by them that we don't get any of the dollars or resources, or we've talked about this on here, but the fact that it's narrow, divergent, go wherever, 5Ds, that's our brain, that's disposition to be hereditary. Yeah, I think it just really separates these conversations bigger than I ever thought.
Yeah, no, it really does.
I think the bigger and the better for us, so we get more, we start getting some acknowledgement, but we never will if we continue to fall under the same umbrella as them.
And as you just said, which I think I want people to really listen to that and really think about that, is our brains are wired different. It's not something that happens in utero. It's not something that happens environmental. And autism, where there's studies, science, it's not us coming up with this. It's not us making this up. It's science. There is science showing that there is something environmentally outside happening that changes the disposition of their brain. And there's going to be people that sometimes say like, well, okay, my uncle was autistic. And again, you could have a predisposition for it, but it's not that it's not hereditary. It's like you could have, like, people can get a virus and it can trigger stuff, right? People can get a virus and they can get an autoimmune. People can get a vaccine and get an autoimmune. People can get, there's many different things that happen that you can trigger something in your body if it's laying dormant and it is in there.
Right.
Dyslexia, that's not what it is. You are born that way. We are born. The second we come out, we are learning different. We're interpreting. We see things,
So is autism an autoimmune?
No, I don't think so, but I don't know. So that's we're also asking you guys questions like, what are your thoughts on that?
If you have it, your brain's wired. Does it rewire your brain? Like, it's not quite like I obviously know a lot about autism, but I don't know. I never really thought about so. Does this cause a rewiring of the brain?
I think it causes something different to happen in the brain, but is it from the brain or right? Is it, who knows? And that's what I would love to know more about that.
And just like I said, when Elizabeth was talking about that, I'm just like, all right, I've never thought about it this way till just the other day. That's why I pose this question, because I really don't know what the full truth, what it is, and how does it. Maybe the whole conversation is wrong. Maybe it does rewire your brain instantly. I truly don't know.
If you have knowledge, or you're a doctor or whatever, and you have knowledge about this, we would love to know a little bit more. But what you said in the beginning is very true, though. It is like, and it's just another reason why when people categorize things and make generalizations about certain, I mean, really anything, certain races, certain learning styles. Yeah, right.
We all do. And that's why I guess this goes back, to the beginning. It's educate yourself a little bit more on it by asking those questions. That's basically because you'll be very surprised of what the answers are going to be if you are not dyslexic.
Right. And here's another question, because there are definitely, people I've known and I've met them through the foundation, and also met them through doing this work, that have the 5Ds, and then they're also on the spectrum. So they're ADHD. So that's the thing, because that one article I read, it's autism and ADHD that they talk about this.
Yep.
But again, ADHD is hereditary.
Right.
So now, if you have an environmental factor, does your ADHD get worse? I mean, is it, I know for myself, I know what makes my ADHD worse. I know what makes it better, but is that the same sort of thing with autism? Like, so
Yeah.
ADHD, from what I've understand, people say that's the spectrum, but autism has its own spectrum, but ADHD is it's on the same sort of spectrum, but it's hereditary. So, and a lot of times when you have one of the 5Ds, which we put ADHD in there because, we both have it, and you could say
40%,
ADD.
40% dyslexics do, so it's a high percentage.
Right. And so how is that different than, right? I mean,
Right.
because that article has it. So there's so much unknown, there's so much out there. And that's also what's so crazy is that we know so much about the brain, but do we really?
Right. I know I've heard people reference the brain and say we know less than 10%. I going off what I've heard. That's true. That's there's a lot of percentage untouched in the brain, and that's where the knowledge base of having it leads and wins in these conversations. Because if you don't, so you maybe studied, you got your master's in it, we'll call it whatever you want. I'll never call you a doctor. But there's that piece you don't, that you don't have that we, speak a lot to it, but then you break it into the brain. That means, like that much.
Right. And it's fascinating. And again, as we said, there's so much that everyone's dyslexia, everyone's experiences, everyone's upbringing, where they went to school, there's so many different levels and factors that you don't know. I mean,
and the ADHD portion, is how many of them are getting, diagnosed by their pediatrician or, just going to your primary care doctor where it's like, okay, here's your 5 questions. Oh, you've got it.
Right.
Like I disagree with that completely. Like, that's something that shouldn't be going. Again, that's the brain, right? Shouldn't be getting diagnosed at pediatricians or primary care. Should be having to go next step for that.
Right. Because there also, how many times have you heard, if I've in a conversation or something and reference ADHD, someone's like, oh, don't we all have ADHD? And I'm like, okay, yeah, a lot of people have attention issues. I am actually diagnosed. Like I have, there's a lot of things under the hood that you don't realize are associated with ADHD. And and it makes me a little crazy when people do that. Cause I'm like,
well, it's because the accessibility of getting tested, like I said, by these people, has made it a word that's out there, easily said, easily understood better. But then to that point is those comments come from too many people shouldn't be diagnosed with it.
Yeah, that's a whole nother. That's a whole nother thing. So there's a lot of things to think about what we just said, and so again, Dyslexic Awareness Month. Ask questions, and no question is stupid. If someone's comfortable with their dyslexia or comfortable enough, you can ask a question. And I'll just bring it to remember the person on the plane that said to me, before they knew I was dyslexic, they're like, my son, I don't know, he went to a special school, but I don't know that he really ever was dyslexic, but it was back, I think it was in the 70s or 80s, whatever it was. He's like, and I walked into the class and everyone seemed really normal. And my son was fairly normal. And I was like, so wait, you're saying the dyslexic kids are normal? And he's like, yeah, I mean, you wouldn't know that they had dyslexia. And I said to him, would you know that I had dyslexia? And he said, what? I said, yeah, I have 4 of the 5Ds. I have 2 that are undiagnosed, but I know because they're diagnosed now. I mean, I with my kids and all the work that I'm doing. And he said, oh my God, you seem so smart. And then he went, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And then I went, it's okay. I know what you're saying. So, but that's where people don't understand. They assume you learn different or you got bad grades, that you're dumb.
Well, you learn differently when you hang from a ceiling upside down in the corner of the classroom and you bat now and,
Yeah. I mean, he was like, so, oh my God, wait, you don't seem like, and I know Montgomery gets that all the time. right? And
Well, it's just the awareness and understanding of it, and who's saying they know what they're doing and who's saying they're not. And welcome to dyslexia. It's
we're gonna leave it at that. We're gonna leave it at that. So you guys, you know what to do. Like, rate, review, and share. But find the community, find and ask questions, and learn a little bit about in this Dyslexic Awareness Month, and then maybe share that knowledge that you learned with someone else that doesn't know, because that's what our goal is in this. I mean, really all the time, but let's heighten it in October. So like, rate, review, and share,
it's
and
not
we'll
Halloween,
see you.
it's Dyslexia Awareness Month.
Yeah, exactly. For another episode of Word Blindness Dyslexia Exposed.